You know, it's not a they do this. We still are a government of the people. And because we're a government of the people, it's us that makes the difference. It's just like in the scripture when it says in 2 Chronicles, a verse you've heard many, many times, but it says in the 13th verse, if I shut up the heavens so that there is no rain, or if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, we're kind of there, aren't we? And my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. We need to be a people who are lifting up Jesus, who are sharing about Christ. We live in a country where we have the freedoms to do that. And we assume other people have those freedoms and they don't. But Austin, we're glad you're here today. You've been a part of, let's see, what's the Texas Patriot Academy at the age of 14. He went to that. That's for 16-year-olds through 25-year-olds. He's actually going back again this year and hopes to participate in that every year that he's eligible. But we're glad you've come, and we look forward to hearing you. Let's give him a hand.
Thank you so much. All right. Can everyone hear me well?
Yeah. Yep.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Well, as you may know, I'm Austin Lux, and I have the honor of being here with you today in the wonderful city of Longview. Thank you so much, all of you, for coming out today. On this National Day of Prayer, it reminds me of everything I have to be thankful for. My family, like my grandmother who drove 85 miles an hour to get here on time. My friends, especially two, who have helped me get onto the speaking circuit, specifically Mr. Brewer and Mr. Bruner. All of you here today, and most especially, our country. Now, when I think of our country, it reminds me of one of our most precious God-given rights. And that right is our freedom. Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men, so advanced beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since, evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We did not pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they, in their lifetimes, must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free. President Ronald Reagan's words are as true and applicable today as they were then. We must preserve what is most precious to us. And that, my friends, is freedom. Freedom, as defined by the 1828 Webster's Dictionary, is a state of exemption from the power or control of another. The state of exemption from the power or control of another. Each generation has to fight for, protect, and defend the freedom we have been given. We have the privilege and the duty to stand guard at the watchtower of liberty. As a nation, we have survived external attacks and internal attacks, but never before at the same time. However, right now, we are defending America from external enemies determined to destroy us and our way of life. And we are in a battle on our own home front. We need to fight for the hearts and minds of our own American citizens. But how do we do this? How do we know what's right? Is there a standard that we can use or that we can go by? You bet there is. Our very own U.S. Constitution. Our Constitution is the greatest foundation of freedom and security known to man. Our founding fathers used their knowledge and understanding of the history of the governments before them to create the most powerful document of freedom and liberty the world has ever seen. The Constitution unlocked our spirit and ingenuity. This allowed us freedom. The freedom to either prosper or to fail, depending on our own actions. The Constitution is the reason that mankind as a whole was able to accomplish more in the past 200 years than we had accomplished in the 5,000 years before that. It has even been said to have caused a 5,000-year leap. How else could we have gone from horse-drawn carriages to putting a man on the moon in less than 200 years, when mankind had never before made such dramatic advances? Now think about that. A man on the moon. Mind-boggling. This explanation lies in one word: freedom. When man is free, we are free to imagine, invent, and create. In doing so, our founding fathers were willing to sacrifice their lives, fortunes, and sacred honors for our freedom. The Constitution created something extraordinary: a republic where the people are more powerful than their government. That bears repeating, where the people have more power than their government. Even if today that is sometimes forgotten. For ours is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. How could these men have done this? Our founding fathers were influenced by many writers, philosophers, and pastors. Cleon Skousen, founder of the National Center for Constitutional Studies, researched hundreds of the founders' writings, and then distilled these writings into several common themes, which he called Principles of Liberty, and then published in his book, The 5,000-Year Leap. Principle number 2 states that a free people cannot survive under our Constitution unless they remain virtuous and morally strong. It was commonly known that self-government cannot run under a corrupt society. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Franklin stated that only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. When nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. George Washington also said that we can only survive as long as there shall remain any virtue in the body of the people. The founding fathers understood that the more immoral man becomes, the more government is needed in society. The more government that is established, the less liberty we have. Once people realize they have less liberty, the more they realize they want less government. At the heart of this vicious cycle is immorality. If we can just keep our country's morals strong, there will be no need for more intrusive governments. Unfortunately, we find ourselves today in a moral crisis. How could this be? It all started in 1962, when prayer was removed from our public schools. In 1963, the Bible was removed from our schools. Finally, in 1980, the 10 Commandments were removed as well. Slowly, we have seen the decline this effect has had in our schools. Teen pregnancies, school shootings, and bullying have all been on the rise since this time, just to name a few. What else can we expect to happen when we remove the moral foundation for our youth's education? And what effect do we think the redefinition of marriage will have on our society? Hopefully, we will never find out. Remember, only a virtuous people are capable of our freedom. When the morality of the people breaks down, society falls. Or as Alexis de Tocqueville put it, America is great because she is good. If America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. One of our founding fathers, Samuel Adams, said, "Let us remember that if we suffer tamely a lawless attack upon our liberty, we encourage it and involve others in our doom." It is a very serious consideration, which should deeply impress our minds, that millions yet unborn may be the miserable sharers of the events. The liberty we are losing today, my fellow Americans, is not ours. It belongs to the future. It belongs to the millions yet unborn. Our founders over and over pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors to defend the liberty of those not yet born. But how are we treating those not yet born today? We don't even respect their most basic rights. Their right to life. On July 4th, 1806, Massachusetts Senator Daniel Webster asked the question, "Is our Constitution worth preserving?" He answered, "Then guard it with your life." Guard it not only against open blows of violence, but also against those seeds of change. Miracles do not cluster. And what happened once in 6,000 years may never happen again. We must defend the miracle we were given. But what can we do? What can we do? What can we, the people, we, the churches, we, the United States of America, do? Remember, we have the best standard around, our Constitution. It can be applied to every situation, to every piece of legislation we should support or should not support. Take, for example, the HHS mandate of Obamacare, which threatens our religious liberty. We must not suffer tamely another lawless attack upon our liberty. We need to make our voices heard to everyone who will listen, our congressmen, our neighbors, our co-workers, anybody you come in contact with. We can do things like sign the Manhattan Declaration, which affirms the sanctity of every human life, that marriage is an institution between one man and one woman, and the inherent right of religious freedom for all, at ManhattanDeclaration.org. Get behind your religious leaders, like the very great Louis Gohmert, David Simpson, and of course, wonderful Senator Ted Cruz. Especially, we need to get out and vote. Did you know that in the last presidential election, only 50% of Christians voted? That's right. Very sad. And of that 50% voted for the candidate with Christian values. That is half of half. How can we expect to elect virtuous leaders if virtuous people are not only voting, but also not voting for the candidate with Christian values and principles? Especially, talk to your children and teach them the principles that have made America great. For as Sir Winston Churchill said, if you will not fight for right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory is sure and not too costly, then you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance of survival. There may even be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves. We were founded as one nation under God. It is because we are that one nation under God, that shining city on a hill, that we have liberty and justice for all. I need your help to make us that one nation under God again. One man can change the world. That's all it takes. Sometimes that one man is someone like Samuel Adams, Winston Churchill, or Ronald Wilson Reagan. Look at all that they did in their time that still affects us today. One man truly can change the world. And I am calling on all of us to be that one man and woman. The founding fathers felt so strongly about the principle of freedom of religion that they inscribed it in the very first amendment to our Constitution. So, all of you virtuous people today, I ask you to please do one more thing. I ask you to pray. I ask you to pray for our nation and pray for each and every one of us to have the strength to stand tall. We need to pray for our state governments. We need to pray for our Supreme Court justices. We need to pray for the unemployed. We need to pray for our national government. We need to pray for our president. We need to pray for all of our politicians in office. We need to pray for everyone who is in a tough time making an important decision. We need to pray for those who can't stand for themselves. We need to pray for good. We need to pray for all that is right and true. We need to pray for our country. We need to pray for our red, white, and blue. We need to pray for our freedom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Austin.